Hey, and welcome to the EMPOWERTalk podcast. We're talking today about recovering quickly. There are so many things that come against our plans and our visions and who we are, our aspirations, our plans for the future. And sometimes we have to really learn the amazing skill of just trying to get over things quickly. We've been talking about some of the principles involved in the book, Finding Flow in Empty Places, and I've been so amazingly blessed just to be able to share with you some of those principles which I believe will always enhance our growth and enable us to be. So here's what Finding Flow with Empty Places, here's what it teaches us. Finding Flow realizes that adversarial forces truly exist with the sole intention of destroying and redirecting the power of our momentum. It's clear that we need to understand that there are forces and there are things that come against us without any explanation. Inexplicably, they just arrive. You wake up one morning and there you are trying to figure out what is trying to bring you into a place of non-productivity, low confidence, and without faith to move forward. And so now we have to recognize that these emotions are real. These things that happen to us are real. And without some real evidence and some real planning, without some real strategies for how to move through these changes of life, sometimes we get stuck in places that we shouldn't be stuck in, and we find it even more difficult to get out of them. But the sole intention of those forces are to prevent us from flowing in the power of our momentum. Momentum is key because momentum relies on us achieving the same level day in, day out, and being consistent and faithful to everything that we have promised to be. And so without those kinds of pushes, without those kinds of influences, sometimes we find ourselves lacking momentum, when momentum, the continuation of our progress, the continuation of the great things that are happening in our lives, it sometimes impedes us from really believing, really moving, really achieving everything that we want to achieve. Here's what it says. Our focus should be on how to build our strongest rebuttal to every adversarial attack, no matter how subtle it is. It's not always the huge things. It's not always the bigger friend. It's not always the great attack that we need to pay attention to. There are subtle and small differences and changes and influences that enter our thinking that have as much power to derail us and to detour us and to discourage us than if we faced an amazing storm. And so it's critical that we stay cognizant of all the things that we face, to recognize even our mood swings, to recognize when we're flowing, when we're not, and to have some idea about what we need to do in order to flow again, and to move beyond some of these adversarial moments. And so our focus has to be renewed every day. And we need to recognize that when we are moving forward, what habits and what behaviors are consistent with momentum being in our lives. And sometimes it's difficult for us to kind of get back to that place of synergy and energy where we feel as though we're confident and we feel as though we can conquer everything that we're going through. But sometimes we really have to take a step back and just analyze and be clear that we have to have a response. Things happen, but we have to respond. We have to recover quickly. It's necessary for us to recognize that every day is a different fight. Every day is a different situation that we have to deal with. And we have to be as powerful today as we were yesterday. And the successes and the joys of yesterday, the things that we achieved so remarkably and so admirably yesterday are wonderful. But they don't carry over into today. We have to find new strength and new energy and new fortitude and new persuasion to be able to pick up the plans and the visions that we have for our lives and to just keep moving, because we understand that even though things come against us, it's not what comes against us. We cannot control some of the impulses and the influences and the misdiagnoses and the attacks that come into our lives. We can't control those. The only thing we have control over is how we respond and the level at which we respond. And according to Finding Flow with Empty Places, we have to recover quickly. We've got to know that we're in trouble, and we've got to exercise and release a plan of recovery and a plan of response so that we don't stay in any place too long. Here's what it teaches. While we candidly accept that we cannot in any way control the insurgency of these attacks, Our reaction and our response, however, must be strategic, calculated, and deliberate. Just as much time as we spend over planning vision statements, mission statements, value statements, core value statements, we have to be as meticulous and as planful and as thoughtful and intentional and calculated and deliberate for the strategies that keep us going. There are strategies that help us to start things. And we are famous, aren't we, for starting things and never ending them, never finishing them, or falling in between what we need to do. But it is critical that even though we might start something and it might not work for our benefit, we have to know that we have to be intentional about the steps that we take. We have to be intentional about how we make it. And we have to decide what is the immediate response going to be to recover and to resume our abilities no matter what faces us. Sometimes if we don't have a plan, we will simply react to something by not reacting, be stunned, and be in disarray about what's happening, and just be thrown into the emotional roller coaster of trying to figure out why are things happening. When the real answer that will move us away from certain things is what is the strategy that we're going to use to make sure that we can bring any disappointment to an end, that we can bring any failure quickly to an end, and resume our path towards recovery, towards discovery, and towards our destiny. And so we have to be deliberate, we have to be strategic, we have to be calculated, we have to be deliberate. Those things have to already be in place. In fact, the response must be in place before the attack. Because once the attack happens, it's far too late to try and figure out how do we respond. We need to have an immediate ability to respond to anything that happens to us and to be victorious in our thinking so that we can continue to climb towards our goals and to our visions. And so we need the power, we need the remembrance, we need the encouragement, we need the stimulus, we need the activity, we need the ability to recover quickly and to understand that things happen that will come to impede us, but we have greatness that still works inside of us, and that greatness needs to push us to the next level. Here's what it teaches. Blessed individuals truly realize that unplanned and unanticipated difficulties will always materialize, but what will always materialize also is a plan of response. What is your response going to be when things happen that we don't like? We must encourage ourselves, and sometimes we're often looking for things outside of ourselves to ensure that we can be progressive and we can heal ourselves and recover. But there's got to be an internal plan, a plan that says that I know where I'm going, and I know that I've made up in my mind, I am determined that there's nothing that's going to derail or discourage me from becoming everything that I know the power of God is in me to overcome. That's the response. It is not necessarily a physical battle. It is not even a physical wrestling, but it is an intellectual, it is an emotional, it is a psychological and a spiritual fight that keeps reminding us that we cannot make progress until we are fully aligned with purpose. When purpose is derailed, then we don't recover quickly. When our hopes and dreams are dashed and we don't have a plan to respond, then it's difficult to recover quickly. But Find and Flow wants to teach us, and that's what we're reading today, this book, and I hope that everyone will find their ability to get this. This book teaches us so many things about how to recover quickly. Hear this. Seasons come and go without permission or approval, and some are in and out of our lives, seemingly at will, avoiding attention and scrutiny. But unplanned attacks and events happen similarly, with abandon and irregularity. And sometimes it's that irregularity or that unplanned thing that really challenges our thinking, because most of the things that we do, we plan for them. But here is the thinking: we need to plan for the unplanned. We need to be ready for the unscheduled. We need to respond powerfully to the things that are unassigned, that are unanticipated, because it's to the extent that we can recover quickly that will be the difference between us being successful and unsuccessful. Sometimes we stay in some places just too long. How many times have we sat in a problem not knowing how to fix it, and the days and the weeks and the months go by and we're still there trying to figure out what is the way out? But we've got to plan for the unplanned, and we have to have a recovery plan for everything that happens. And it might be a different challenge, might be a different circumstance, but the recovery plan is still the same. And that is, we have to convince ourselves and believe that we have the power and we have the tools to recover quickly. I'm so honored to be able to share these things with you because I believe that no matter what the seasons, whether they come and go, they saunter in and out of our lives, they present different faces, difficulties and trials and problems come in different disguises, but that their intention, their motive is the same thing, to bring us back and to allow us just to dwell in a place that is not progressive without any energy or excitement. But if we can recover quickly, guess what? Our excitement can be recovered quickly. Our enthusiasm will come back quickly. And all the things that we need to return to will help us to realize that those days that happen and those things that happen that are unplanned are all part of how we as individuals can believe in ourselves and believe in and empower talk ourselves into the next stage of who we are. And so let this be something that we just kind of meditate on this week and keep telling ourselves that no matter what comes against us, we're going to recover quickly. Whatever the season is, we're going to recover quickly. And no matter what is intended for us to do, whatever the intention of the adversary is, that we're going to disappoint that strategy by having a strategy that says we know how to scramble, we know how to hustle, we know how to roll up our sleeves and to do the work that's necessary to return to a level of productivity because our destiny is at stake. Join me next time on the EMPOWERTalk podcast as we begin to share thoughtfulness, wisdom, understanding that helps us just to achieve everything we need to achieve. And remember, whatever happens to you this week, remind yourself, have a plan, and recover quickly. Join me next time